Listen closely and do not hurry through these words. This is not entertainment. This is not a talk meant to amuse or inspire for a passing moment. What I am about to say is reconditioning, a return to the original power that was yours before the world taught you to doubt it. Before we begin, I ask only this. Take 3 slow breaths. With each breath, let the noise of the day fall away. The small anxieties, the hurried thoughts, the voices of others. Place a hand over your chest, feel the pulse beneath it, and remember that rhythm is not confusion, it is command. It is the steady reminder that life itself is responding to your will. Now listen carefully. There comes a time in every man's life when he must decide, truly decide, whether he will continue to live as a creature of hesitation or rise as a creator of destiny. Most men wait for proof before they move. They wait for certainty before they commit. They wait for permission before they begin. But the truth I discovered after years of study and conversation with the greatest builders of our age is that certainty does not come before decision. It comes because of it. Doubt, you see, is not natural. No man is born doubting himself. Doubt is learned, repeated into the mind until it becomes habit. It is inherited through the fears of others, passed down in words of caution, dressed up as wisdom. And slowly, the man who once looked to the horizon with wonder begins to look down at his feet, measuring every step. But decision is pure. It is born in the soul before it is proven by the world. It is the act by which a man declares, "This is who I am, and this is what shall be." When I first began my great study, the years I devoted to understanding the laws of success, I found this one truth echoing through every story, every triumph, every life of significance. The moment of quiet decision marks the death of doubt. From that instant forward, everything changes. So as you hear my words, do not merely listen. Breathe them in. Let them settle deep where your belief sleeps. This is the beginning of your reconditioning. Repeat with me now, not in thought but aloud, with conviction. I was not born to hesitate. I was born to win. Say it again, not timidly, not as one asking for permission, but as one reclaiming what was stolen by fear. I was not born to hesitate. I was born to win. And now that we have spoken this truth, the work begins. For what follows is not theory, but law. The same law that moved Carnegie from a poor telegraph boy to a titan of steel, that carried Edison through 10,000 failures to light the world, that built Ford's empire of motion from the dust of doubt. It begins not with luck, not with wealth, not even with talent. It begins here, in the stillness of a man who finally decides that hesitation has ruled long enough. So breathe once more. Let the air fill you with calm certainty. And know this, from this moment forward, every word you hear, every image you form will not be for entertainment, but for transformation. Now we begin. Let me tell you something. Most men never discover. Doubt was never yours. It did not belong to you when you entered this world. It was handed to you slowly, carefully, until you believed it was part of your nature. When a child first learns to walk, he does not question whether he can. He stumbles, he falls, but he rises again with laughter. He does not say, "Perhaps I am not meant for this." He tries again, driven by a knowing deeper than reason. That knowing is faith in action. The original instinct of man before fear was taught to him. But as that same child grows, the world begins its quiet training. Be careful, they say. Don't aim too high. Be realistic. And so, little by little, courage is replaced by caution. Confidence is replaced by calculation. And what was once natural, the boldness to move before the evidence appears, becomes a forgotten language. Doubt, my friend, is not wisdom. It is conditioning. It was installed through repetition, through the fears of those who never learned to master their own minds. You have heard it in their words, seen it in their hesitation, absorbed it in their silence. The longer you lived among the doubtful, the more you rehearsed their beliefs, until they became your own. When I began to study the great builders of our age, I searched for what set them apart. It was not brilliance. Many were of average intellect. It was not inheritance. Most began with nothing. It was identity. They decided who they were before the evidence arrived. Henry Ford was told by engineers, financiers, and editors alike, that his dream of a car for the common man was folly. Impossible, they said. But Ford did not study impossibility. He had no interest in what could not be done. His belief preceded his results. He declared, "I will build it," and because his mind accepted that declaration as law, his world began to rearrange itself to fulfill it. Thomas Edison, too, was no stranger to failure. 10,000 attempts, 10,000. Yet he did not call them failures, for his identity had already been chosen. He did not believe himself to be a man who might invent the light. He was the man who would. The light, therefore, was inevitable. These men did not wait for proof to decide who they were. They chose identity first, and the evidence came after. That, my friend, is the first act of power, to unlearn the doubt that was never yours. Close your eyes for a moment. See before you a heavy coat, worn, threadbare, passed down from generations of fear. It does not fit you, but you have carried it for years. Now remove it. Lay it down. Whisper as you do, "Doubt is not mine. I return it." Again, more firmly this time. Let your voice cut through the quiet. "Doubt is not mine. I return it." For that phrase is not poetry. It is command, and your subconscious listens to command, not logic. You were not born to hesitate. You were born to decide. You were not born to seek permission. You were born to create direction. And from this moment forward, you shall remember that doubt is a borrowed voice, not your own. From this day, you begin the sacred task of returning what never belonged to you. There is a truth I discovered after years of inquiry, years of sitting with men whose names now echo through history. It is this: identity is not discovered, it is decided. Most men wander through life, searching for a sign, some proof of who they are meant to be. They wait for success to name them, for circumstance to reveal them, for approval to confirm them. But the great ones, those who built industries, moved nations, and bent history itself, they did not wait to find themselves. They declared themselves. When I first spoke with Andrew Carnegie, he was not yet the legend the world now knows. He was a young man of modest position, but his words were not small. He said to me, "With the calm certainty of a king, I will spend the first half of my life earning money, and the second half giving it away." At that moment, his conditions had not changed. His salary was humble, his surroundings plain, but his identity was already cast in iron. He had chosen it, and the world was merely waiting to catch up. Henry Ford did the same. Long before his factories roared, before the automobile transformed the modern age, Ford had written his decree in silence. He said to himself, "I will build a motor car for the multitude." He did not ask if it was possible. He did not consult the experts. He decided, and that decision shaped reality around him. Thomas Edison, too, was not searching for who he was. He knew, he told me once, "I am not a man of failure. I am a man of experiment." That sentence alone contained a universe of power. For by refusing to let failure define him, he sealed his identity in success long before success appeared. You see, the average man believes that identity is a discovery, that one must search the world to find who he is. But I tell you, identity is not found in the hills of the earth, nor the clouds of heaven. It is forged within. A man becomes what he declares with conviction and repeats with faith. Every sentence you speak about yourself is a seed, and as with all seeds, what you plant, you will one day walk among. So here is the practice I ask of you, a simple but powerful act. Take a sheet of paper and write upon it one single sentence, your decree of identity. Not what you wish to be, not what you hope to become, but what you are. Write it as a command to your subconscious, for it is the servant that never sleeps. Let it be firm, final, and alive. Something such as, "I am the man who was meant to win." Say it aloud now. Ask the question with intention. Who am I? Pause. Let the silence stretch, and then answer, "I am the man who was meant to win." Again, with strength. Let the words take residence in your voice. Who am I? I am the man who was meant to win. And again, until the sound becomes rhythm, until the rhythm becomes belief, until belief becomes law. You see, my friend, once a man writes his decree, his life begins to organize itself around it. People, opportunities, and even hardships align to test and refine that declaration. But from the moment you decide who you are, Doubt loses its power, for doubt feeds only on indecision. So I ask you not to wait another hour. Take pen to paper tonight, write your sentence. Speak it each morning before the world begins to whisper its own opinions into your mind. This is the beginning of mastery, not of others, but of self. For every man who has ever conquered the external world first conquered his inner definition, and now you shall do the same. There is a law I have witnessed in every life of power, and it never fails. Retreat keeps fear alive. As long as a man leaves open the possibility of return, he will never give his full strength to advance. The world belongs not to the man who hopes, but to the man who decides, not to the one who says, I'll try, but to the one who declares, I will. You see, the word maybe has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. It keeps a man lukewarm, divided between two worlds, one foot on the shore of safety, the other trembling above the waters of destiny. But greatness demands immersion. You must step fully in, or you will never cross. When I spoke with Henry Ford, he told me something that has never left my memory. He said, I focus on one thing until it is complete, and I do not look backward. And he proved it. When the Model T began to succeed, his advisors begged him to diversify, to produce other designs, to spread risk. Ford refused. He shut down every other line of production and devoted all his factories, all his men, and all his energy to the Model T. Many thought him reckless. But that recklessness built an empire. Why? Because he understood this law: when a man closes all exits, power concentrates. Thomas Edison lived by the same principle. When he set out to produce electric light, he did not keep a second plan in his pocket. 10,000 failures could not move him, because there was no elsewhere to go. He had burned the bridges to retreat. And when you eliminate escape, invention becomes necessity, and necessity breeds genius. Even Abraham Lincoln, facing the greatest division a nation had ever seen, refused compromise when compromise would have been easy. The Union was to be preserved, not if possible, not when convenient, but absolutely. He knew that leaving a single loophole for retreat would invite weakness, and weakness once invited never leaves. That, my friend, is finality, and finality is freedom. Now let us turn from principle to practice. If you are to walk the path of the builder, you must first identify the bridges that still tempt you backward. Take a page and write down every exit door that keeps you from full commitment. Perhaps it is a position you keep just in case. Perhaps it is a friendship rooted in the comfort of your old self. Perhaps it is the small whisper that says, if this fails, I can always go back. Write them all down, and one by one, close them, not with anger, but with finality. You must teach your mind that there is no safety but in forward motion. For when you remove retreat, fear loses its breath. It cannot survive without escape routes. Say these words now, slowly, and mean them. There is no return. My decision is final. Again, let your tone sharpen, not with defiance, but with authority. There is no return. My decision is final. You may feel resistance. Good. That is the sound of old hesitation dying. Understand this: when you burn the bridges behind you, it is not destruction, it is consecration. You are declaring before life itself that there will be no compromise, no partial faith, no divided heart. The man who leaves himself no way out finds that the way forward widens, and the world, sensing his certainty, bends to his will. So tonight, close the doors, seal the exits, and awaken tomorrow with the calm strength of one who knows there is only one direction left to go: forward. There is a rhythm that separates those who build from those who merely wish. It is the rhythm of decision followed by action. I have observed this truth in every man who rose from obscurity to mastery. Indecision breeds fear. Decision breeds power. Fear feeds on delay. The longer a man debates, the more courage drains from his spirit. But once a decision is made, once it is spoken aloud and sealed with movement, fear loses its hold. I remember asking Andrew Carnegie, "What is the greatest weakness you have seen in men?" He replied without hesitation, "They wait too long to decide and too little to act." Those words became a law to me, and I found them repeated in every great life I studied thereafter. Henry Ford was a man of swift decision. His rule was simple: decide quickly, change slowly, if at all. He did not sit in endless meetings. He did not wait for the full map before taking the first step. When his engineers insisted that a certain design could not be built, he looked them in the eye and said, "Produce it anyway." That single sentence carried more power than 1,000 plans, because it contained the one ingredient most men lack: finality. Thomas Edison shared the same habit. When asked about his experiments, he once told me, "I make up my mind, and then I go to work." He never allowed doubt to build a nest in his mind. The moment an idea appeared, he acted, and action itself produced clarity. The weak man says, "I will decide when I know enough." The strong man knows that he will learn only after deciding. You see, my friend, motion is the proof of faith. When you move, you tell your mind, "I am certain," and the subconscious, that faithful servant, begins to rearrange every resource in your favor. But when you hesitate, you tell that same mind, "I do not believe," and it obeys. It withdraws energy. It halts creativity. It closes the gates of inspiration. Decision is not just a mental act, it is a command to the universe. And the faster it is made, the stronger its echo. Now let me give you a simple drill, one you may carry into every hour of your life. I call it the 3-2-1 action. Whenever a choice stands before you, whether small or great, breathe once, twice, thrice, and then move. 3 heartbeats to choose, 1 step to confirm. No more circling thoughts, no more someday. You decide, and the movement seals it. Say it aloud with me now, until your voice grows steady. I decide. I move. Results follow. Again louder, as if speaking to your own subconscious. I decide. I move. Results follow. And understand what those words mean. Decision is not about knowing everything. It is about trusting that action reveals what thought alone never could. Abraham Lincoln, in the darkest days of the Civil War, did not have all the answers. He faced uncertainty, dissent, and fear on every side. But he moved. He decided. And because he acted from conviction, clarity followed. That is the eternal law. The man who decides quickly builds momentum. The man who moves immediately gathers power. The man who waits for perfect certainty dies waiting. So from this day forward, do not delay. The instant your purpose speaks, answer it. Do not wait for courage. Move, and courage will meet you. Do not wait for proof. Act, and proof will appear in your path. Let this be your vow. I decide swiftly. I move without hesitation, and the world obeys my motion. Hold to that rhythm, and watch as life begins to mirror your decisiveness, for the world does not bend to the man who thinks the longest, but to the man who moves first. There is a force within every man, silent, invisible, and yet more powerful than any machine forged by human hands. It is the subconscious mind. And once a man learns to direct it, he commands the very foundation of his destiny. I have said before that the subconscious mind does not reason, it obeys. It does not question your commands, it fulfills them. But here lies the great tragedy. Most men issue their commands carelessly. They speak words of failure, of limitation, of doubt, and then wonder why life mirrors their weakness back to them. Understand this clearly. The subconscious is the loyal servant of the dominant voice within you. It takes your repeated emotional statements as law and arranges circumstances to match them. It does not distinguish between truth and falsehood, only between repetition and neglect. When I walked among men of great achievement, Carnegie, Edison, Schwab, I noticed that each possessed an unusual calmness of tone. They did not speak in haste or doubt. Their words carried the quiet weight of certainty, because they had trained their inner voice to speak only command, never confusion. Andrew Carnegie once told me, "I never permit my tongue to speak what I do not wish to be true," and he lived by that rule. He did not say, "I hope to succeed." He said, "I shall succeed." That small difference in phrasing became the difference between wishful thinking and inevitable victory. Thomas Edison followed the same discipline. After thousands of failures, he refused to speak of defeat. He said, "I have not failed. I have found 10,000 ways that will not work." He was not being clever. He was training his mind to stay loyal to the vision, and the subconscious, hearing those words again and again, built the endurance that carried him to success. Let me teach you now what these men understood. Autosuggestion is the bridge between thought and reality. It is the tool by which the conscious mind instructs the subconscious in what to create. And it works not by logic, but by repetition and emotion. You must therefore take control of your daily speech. Not only what you say to others, but what you whisper to yourself. Every morning and every night, you must speak with intention. I will give you the form. Upon waking, before the world intrudes with its noise, place your hand over your chest and declare aloud your identity and aim. Do not think it silently. Do not mumble it half-heartedly. Speak it. For the spoken word carries vibration, and vibration is the language of the subconscious. Say something such as, I am the master of my thoughts. I act before fear has a voice. I move with certainty. Repeat it 3 times, slowly, as though each word were a chisel shaping stone. Then proceed with your day. At night, just before sleep, when the mind drifts between wakefulness and dream, you will give your subconscious its nightly order. It may be your chief aim, or a sentence of identity such as, I am the man who was meant to win. Speak it calmly, with emotion, and then let sleep carry it deep into the chambers of your mind. Do this daily, for words repeated with feeling become reality engraved in habit. Understand this. When you speak aloud, you train your own mind to believe the sound of your own authority. The voice you hear most often becomes the voice you obey, and the man who controls that voice commands his fate. From this day forward, speak only what you wish to see. If doubt arises, do not argue with it. Outvoice it. If fear whispers, do not listen. Speak louder. Now let us seal this law within you. Say it with me, as if giving an order to your entire being. I speak power, and my mind obeys. Again, with greater command. I speak power, and my mind obeys. This is not poetry. This is practice. Every word you utter is a tool, a seed, a command. Plant only those that bear the fruit of strength. The man who speaks with authority over his own mind will soon find that the world begins to echo his tone. There is a truth I learned long ago, one that every man must learn if he wishes to rise above mediocrity. Feelings are weather, purpose is climate. Most men live as slaves to their moods. They act when they feel strong, and they retreat when they feel uncertain. Their lives rise and fall with the changing winds of emotion. But the man who learns to rule his feelings rather than serve them becomes immovable. Understand this. Feelings are not facts. They are passing conditions of the mind, clouds that drift across the sky of your purpose. Faith, on the other hand, is the sun. It does not vanish when the clouds appear. It only waits for the wind of decision to blow them away. I remember a conversation with Abraham Lincoln, one of the most remarkable minds I ever studied. He told me that during the darkest hours of the war, when the nation's very soul seemed to tremble, he felt no comfort, no relief, no joy, only the crushing weight of duty. Yet he acted. He did not move because he felt brave. He moved because he had decided to stand for something larger than himself. His emotions screamed for rest, for retreat, for peace. But purpose spoke louder, and history remembers him not for what he felt, but for what he did, despite those feelings. Henry Ford possessed the same discipline. When his engineers told him that the V8 engine was impossible, he did not debate, nor did he consult his emotions. He simply said, build it anyway. It was not confidence that moved him. It was conviction. The difference between the two is what separates the dreamer from the builder. Confidence depends on evidence. Conviction creates it. The man of faith acts first. The man of feeling waits forever. You must decide today which master you will serve. Will you be ruled by the moods that visit you, or by the mission that defines you? Let me teach you a simple protocol that will anchor your power when emotions rise like storms. When fear, doubt, or discouragement appear, name them. Speak their name aloud. This is fear. This is doubt. This is fatigue. Do not hide from them. See them as visitors, not rulers. Then refuse their command. Say to them, you are weather, you will pass, my purpose remains, and act. Move 1 inch forward, write 1 line, make 1 call, build 1 thing. That single act performed in defiance of emotion will break the chain of hesitation, because motion is the antidote to mood. Each time you act when you do not feel ready, you train your subconscious to obey your decision, not your emotion. And the more you do this, the more powerful you become. Thomas Edison practiced this to perfection. He did not wait to feel inspired to work. He began and inspiration followed. He once said to me, "Most men wait for the spark before they move. I move first, and the spark follows." That is faith in its truest form, to move without feeling, to act without assurance, to trust the unseen law that action itself generates power. So I tell you now, feelings are not to be destroyed, but mastered. You will feel fear. You will feel weariness. You will feel doubt, but you must never bow to them. Repeat after me, not as hope, but as command. I act, not because I feel ready, but because I decide. Once more, louder, with conviction. I act, not because I feel ready, but because I decide. That, my friend, is the secret of every builder, every conqueror, every visionary I have ever known. They felt what all men feel, but they did not obey it. They understood that emotion is a servant, not a master. From this moment forward, let purpose be your climate, steady, unchanging, eternal. And let your feelings come and go like passing weather. Move through the storm. Act while afraid. And one day you will look back and realize that faith, not feeling, built the empire you now stand upon. There comes a point in every man's journey when applause fades, when progress slows, when the world no longer watches. It is in that quiet stretch, that valley between the first spark and the final triumph, where greatness is either forged or forgotten. The weak man stops there. He confuses silence with failure. The strong man, however, understands that mastery is built in obscurity. When I walked the factories of Charles M. Schwab, I saw this principle at work in its purest form. Schwab, though young when he took charge of the great steel operations, possessed an uncommon discipline. He did not rely on praise, nor did he measure his worth by public recognition. His measure was production. I remember asking him once, "Mr. Schwab, how do you maintain such composure when the weight of an entire industry rests upon your shoulders?" He smiled and said, "Because I work for progress, not for noise." The steel speaks for itself. He understood what few men ever learn, that the true builder does not require witnesses. He continues his labor when others have gone home. He refines his craft when no one applauds. And because of that quiet persistence, the world eventually bows to his results. Every enduring empire, every masterpiece of invention, every work of art unseen until its moment of revelation, all were born in long nights of unseen effort. The applause always arrives after the work is done. You too must learn the art of continuance, to move forward when the excitement has faded, to persist when no one is watching. It is not the initial burst of inspiration that builds greatness. It is the steady hand that does not stop. Allow me to offer you a practice that will anchor this discipline within you. Each night, before you rest, open your ledger, not of money, but of mastery. Write 3 things you completed that day, no matter how small. And then below them, write 1 bold step you will take tomorrow, 1 act that advances your chief aim. This ritual is simple, but it carries immense power. It teaches your subconscious that your value lies not in recognition, but in continuation. It proves to yourself that progress is being made, even in quiet hours. Understand this clearly. The world does not reward the man who begins often. It rewards the man who finishes. Completion, not initiation, separates the successful from the forgotten. Edison taught me this truth during our long conversations. He said, "Many men can start an idea, but few carry it to the end. The last step is always the hardest and the most valuable." He was right. The final 10% of any endeavor requires 90% of the courage. So do not mistake the silence of your journey for failure. When the noise dies down, when enthusiasm wanes, that is the hour of testing. It is the universe asking, are you committed, or were you merely curious? Continue. Work while the world sleeps. Hold your vision steady in the stillness. And when doubt whispers, remind yourself, I am not moved by applause. I am moved by purpose. Now speak this aloud with me, slowly with conviction. I build in silence. I finish what I start. Again with power. I build in silence. I finish what I start. That sentence carries within it the entire secret of progress. To build in silence is to trust your own faith more than the world's approval. To finish what you start is to honor your own word as law. The man who does these two things, who continues steadily without the need for recognition, becomes unstoppable. For when others rest, he refines. When others boast, he builds. And when others give up, he breaks through. So tonight, before you sleep, open your ledger. Write your 3 completions. Write your 1 bold step, and know that though the world may not yet see it, you are advancing. Quietly, deliberately, victoriously. Because the man who builds in silence soon creates a noise the world cannot ignore. There is a law, simple yet profound, that I discovered after years of studying the greatest builders, inventors, and thinkers of my age. Resistance is not a warning, it is confirmation. Whenever a man begins to expand beyond the limits of his old identity, resistance appears. It does not come to stop him, it comes to test him. It arrives not as punishment, but as proof that movement is taking place. Understand this deeply. If you feel no resistance, you are not advancing. Ease is the companion of stagnation. Friction is the evidence of progress. When I began my studies under the guidance of Andrew Carnegie, he told me something I never forgot. He said, "Hill, if the road feels smooth, you're likely walking in circles." It took me years to understand what he meant. The path of purpose is not meant to be comfortable. It is meant to be clarifying. Thomas Edison lived within this law. 10,000 failed experiments did not discourage him. They defined him. Each failure was not a wall, but a mirror, reflecting how far he had come. He once said to me, "Each obstacle only proves that I'm in the right laboratory." And Henry Ford, when faced with the collapse of his first companies, did not interpret it as the end. He saw it as refinement, the world shaping him into the man capable of building the automobile empire he later commanded. You must, therefore, reframe hardship. When difficulty appears, do not ask, "Why me?" Ask instead, "What is this resistance trying to build in me?" For resistance is not a stop sign. It is a signal that you are now operating beyond your old limits. Allow me to guide you through a brief exercise, what I call walking through the fog. Close your eyes. In your mind, see yourself standing before a wall of thick fog. You cannot see what lies beyond, but you know that progress requires you to walk through it. Now take a slow breath in and step forward, 1 pace into the fog. You feel the resistance around you, cold, dense, uncertain, but you keep walking. With every step, the fog grows thinner. You begin to notice a faint light ahead, a light that strengthens as you move forward. You realize now that the fog was never solid, it was illusion. The only way to clear it was to walk through it. Now open your eyes. That is how progress feels. The mind creates fog whenever you approach the edges of your comfort. If you stop there, the fog remains forever. But if you walk, it dissolves before your courage. This is why I tell you, do not curse your resistance. Thank it. It is proof that you are growing. It is the training ground of strength. It is the sculptor of identity. No man of greatness was ever made in comfort. Steel is not formed in cool air. It is forged in fire. The moment you feel the heat, remember, this is the making of you. Now repeat these words aloud, as command as truth. Resistance sharpens me. I rise through it. Once more, slower with authority. Resistance sharpens me. I rise through it. Let that sentence sink into your bones. Because every time resistance visits, it carries a message. You are expanding. And when you understand that, the struggle no longer breaks you, it refines you. You no longer run from difficulty. You move toward it, knowing that each step through the fog brings you closer to the man you were meant to become. So remember this law. The presence of resistance is not the sign of failure. It is the sound of growth. When you meet it, smile, stand taller, and say within yourself, "This is proof. I am on the right path." And then keep walking. There is a secret that separates men who dream from men who build. They move first. Most men wait. They wait for courage, for clarity, for inspiration, for some perfect moment that never arrives. They believe that movement depends on motivation, when in truth, it is the other way around. Motion precedes motivation. You do not feel your way into action. You act your way into feeling. I have seen this law confirmed in every great man I ever studied. From Edison's laboratory to Ford's factory floor, each one began before he was ready. Each one understood that the world rearranges itself around a man in motion. Andrew Carnegie once told me, "A man waiting to feel certain before he begins will die waiting." He believed in the power of momentum, that energy once in motion multiplies itself. When I first began to write Think and Grow Rich, I did not feel inspired every morning. Many days, I felt doubt gnawing at the edge of my resolve, but I forced my pen to move, even if only for a single paragraph. And every time I moved my hand across that paper, something remarkable happened. The mind followed. The fire rekindled. The words began to flow. The first inch carried me into the next, and the next into miles. So I teach this practice to every man who wishes to reclaim control of his mind. The first inch ritual. Each morning before the world speaks, before you have had time to think, take one irreversible action toward your aim. Not a plan, not a thought, an act. If your goal is to build a business, write one letter, make one call, design one page. If your goal is to strengthen your body, step outside and begin your walk before breakfast. If your goal is mastery, study one principle before the sun rises. Do it before the mind has time to resist, because the mind hesitates only when given the chance. The first inch is not about scale, it is about signal. You are training your subconscious to recognize that movement is your nature, that hesitation no longer governs you. I have found this truth in the smallest of places. Edison once told me that his most productive hours were not when he felt inspired, but when he had already begun. He said, "Invention does not come to the man thinking. It comes to the man turning the wheel, that is momentum." And here is what most men never realize. Momentum compounds. 1 inch today becomes 2 tomorrow, and soon a mile. Progress builds upon itself until it becomes unstoppable. But if you delay that first inch, you delay everything. So make this your daily command. Before breakfast, I move. No excuses, no exceptions. And at the end of each week, open your ledger and count your inches, not as a measure of distance, but of discipline. For it is not the man who moves far who wins, but the man who moves daily. Each inch you claim as a declaration. I lead myself. Each morning, act reinforces that you are the kind of man who acts first and questions later. Soon, your subconscious will no longer ask, "Should I?" It will simply move, because it has learned that action is your default. So say this with me, with the certainty of command. I move first. The world adjusts. Again, louder, with conviction. I move first. The world adjusts. That is not a wish. It is a law. Because when you move, the universe responds. Doors appear where walls once stood. People, opportunities, and ideas gather around your motion. The path is never revealed to the man who stands still. It is revealed to the man who walks. So from this day forward, let there be no waiting. Do not linger at the edge of your vision, hoping for permission or perfect timing. Step forward 1 inch every morning. Let motion be your master, for when a man moves first, he becomes the signal the world cannot ignore. Many years ago, when I first introduced the principle of the master mind, I spoke of the power that arises when 2 or more minds align in harmony toward a definite purpose. But as time passed, I came to understand a deeper truth, one that few men ever uncover. Before a man can form a mastermind with others, he must first build one within himself. Inside every man lives a council of forces, some bold, some cautious, some wise, some fearful. Most men live as servants to that inner chaos. They allow indecision, emotion, and doubt to argue endlessly, wasting their days in noise. But the man who leads himself, the man who acts as though he were meant to win, learns to gather his powers, to assign them roles, and to bring them into order. This is what I call the inner council. It is a mastermind of the soul, a deliberate meeting of your own faculties. And when united under a single purpose, they multiply your strength as surely as a great alliance multiplies an army. Let me describe it plainly. When I sit at my desk before great work, I imagine my council taking their seats, not as fantasies, but as faculties, aspects of my own mind, summoned into focus. At the head sits courage, the one who commands action. At his right hand sits clarity, who cuts through confusion and emotion, revealing the truth of things as they are. At the left sits prudence, who guards against haste and folly, ensuring that every decision serves the greater purpose. And before them all stands decision, quiet but final. He listens, then strikes the gavel of the will. Before I begin my day's work, I call this meeting to order. I close my eyes, breathe deeply, and speak inwardly. My counsel, gather now. Courage, speak your truth. Clarity, reveal the facts. Prudence, weigh the cost. Decision, seal the verdict. Then I ask one question, only one. What must I do now to advance my definite purpose? I allow each part of me to answer, briefly, firmly, and then I close the meeting with a single command. It is decided, begin. This simple practice sharpens the mind and prevents the endless hesitation that weakens so many men. You will find that when your inner counsel learns to work in harmony, your outer world begins to move accordingly. There is no longer the scattered pull of conflict, only direction, power, and unity. Understand this. Every man carries within him the full counsel of genius. It is not granted to a chosen few. It must only be organized. Edison once told me that when he faced a difficult problem, he would speak it aloud to the silence and then listen until the answer formed in his mind. He was, without realizing it, calling his own master mind into session. The silence, you see, is not empty. It is alive with the voices of your higher faculties, waiting for your leadership. Most men never command their own mind long enough to hear those voices. They live like a parliament in disorder, every emotion shouting, every fear interrupting, and no one holding the gavel. But the man who builds his inner counsel, who listens, decides, and acts, becomes unshakable. He no longer depends on the opinions of others for strength, for he has built an alliance of power within himself. Now I will give you a ritual to anchor this truth. Before beginning any important task, close your eyes for 1 minute, breathe slowly, 3 times. Then summon your counsel. Courage, awaken. Clarity, step forward. Prudence, advise. Decision, lead. Ask one question, make one decision, speak one command, then act. Do not allow debate to linger. The counsel must end in motion, not discussion. Now say these words aloud. With strength and conviction joined in purpose, my powers multiply. Again, slower. Feel the weight of the truth as you speak it. Joined in purpose, my powers multiply, because they do. The moment you gather your inner forces under one banner, you cease to be divided, and a man undivided, a man of one mind, one will, one aim, becomes a phenomenon of nature. So call your counsel daily, lead it with calm authority. Let your mind learn the habit of unity, and soon the world itself will follow your command. For the man who rules himself has already begun to rule his destiny. Now, my friend, we come to the inner chamber, the sacred place where every great transformation begins. I invite you to close your eyes and follow me there. This is not imagination for its own sake. It is a deliberate act of mental construction, a discipline I have used and taught to many men of achievement. Breathe deeply. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Again, slower this time. Let the body grow still. Let the world fall silent. You stand now at the threshold of your own mind, before a grand stone gate carved with words older than memory. Enter only with decision. The gate opens. You step forward. Before you stretches a long, narrow corridor. This is the corridor of doubt. The walls are lined with old scrolls, each one marked with the words that have chained men for generations. Maybe, someday, when the time is right. What if I fail? These are the voices that have lived in your mind for too long. As you walk slowly through the corridor, you feel their weight begin to lift. You run your hand along the wall and realize that these doubts are only ash, fragile remnants of a weaker time. At the end of the corridor, a great doorway opens into a vast chamber, the Hall of Decrees. You step inside. The air is still sacred. The floor beneath you is polished stone. Torches line the walls, their flames unmoving as though time itself has stopped. In the center of the hall stands an altar, plain, powerful, waiting. Upon it lies a stack of old scrolls, the final remnants of hesitation, your own maybes, the things you told yourself you would do later, When the stars aligned, when you felt ready, it is time to burn them. You take one scroll into your hands and read the words written there. I'll try. Another says, perhaps next year. Another, when I'm more certain. Now take a torch from the wall. Touch its flame to the scrolls. Watch as the fire consumes them. Each word, each excuse, each delay. The smoke rises toward the vaulted ceiling and disappears. The air grows clearer, the room brighter. You stand now before the altar, empty-handed, but lighter than you have ever felt. And from the far end of the hall, a light begins to move toward you, steady, golden, growing stronger with each step. From within that light emerges a figure. He carries three objects, a key, a hammer, and a lamp. He does not speak, but you understand. He offers you the key of decision, forged in the fire of your own will. With this, you unlock the path forward. You accept it. He places in your other hand the hammer of action, heavy, solid, unyielding. This is not a weapon of destruction, but of creation. With it you will build. Finally, he raises the lamp of faith, its flame unwavering, untouched by wind or darkness. He places it in your chest, and you feel it ignite within. He looks at you once, and then vanishes into light. Now you stand alone in the hall of decrees, holding your three gifts: decision, action, faith. You raise them high, and the hall begins to tremble, not with fear, but with recognition. The walls echo a single phrase, a truth spoken, not in words, but in resonance. I was meant to win, and I walk as one who knows. Speak it now aloud, so that your mind may hear it. I was meant to win, and I walk as one who knows. Once more, slower, until you feel the weight of its meaning. I was meant to win, and I walk as one who knows. The light grows brighter now. The torches flare. The hall begins to dissolve. Stone turning to mist. Mist turning to breath. And as the vision fades, you find yourself back in the quiet of your own room, seated, breathing, still, but something is different. The weight is gone. The air feels new. You can still feel the key in your hand, the hammer in your grasp, and the lamp burning behind your ribs. Do not rush to speak. Do not reach for distraction. Sit in this stillness for one more moment, and then take a single immediate action, whatever it may be. Write one line, make one call, take one step. Do it now, before thought returns, before hesitation can whisper again. For the man who has stood in the temple of decision does not linger. He moves, and the world, as always, adjusts. There are forces that steal a man's progress quietly, without noise or warning. They do not arrive as disasters. They arrive as habits. I call them saboteurs, invisible thieves of purpose that dress themselves as logic, patience, or even prudence. I have met these saboteurs in every mind I have studied. And in my own, let us expose them now, one by one, and cure them before they grow strong again. The first is perfection. It whispers that your work must be flawless before it can be seen. It convinces you that preparation is progress, that polishing is creation. But perfection is not the pursuit of excellence. It is fear in fine clothing. It delays under the noble excuse of better, yet better never comes, because movement never begins. The cure is what I call the rough first draft. Begin, even if the hand shakes. Speak, even if the voice trembles. Write the first line. Build the first frame. Draw the first plan. No matter how crude, progress begins the moment you stop waiting to feel ready. The second version can only exist once. The first exists. So give yourself permission to make it imperfect and alive. Say it now. I begin before I am ready. The second saboteur is comparison. Few poisons are more subtle. You measure your worth against another man's timeline, another woman's victory, another life stage, and in doing so, you rob yourself of your own rhythm. Remember this. The oak does not envy the pine, though both reach the same sun. The cure is the practice of private standards. You measure only against your last step, your last effort, your last result. Ask yourself each night, did I advance? If the answer is yes, even by an inch, then you have succeeded. Comparison dies when you return to your own path. Say it now. I compete only with the man I was yesterday. The third saboteur is busy work, the illusion of motion without movement. It makes a man feel industrious while he avoids the one task that truly matters. He fills the day with letters, lists, errands, distractions, and calls it progress. But the builder knows energy scattered is energy lost. The cure is the single metric. Each morning, name one result that defines victory for that day. 1, not 10, not 5. Just 1. Complete it, and your day is a success. Leave the rest to time. In every great enterprise I have studied, success began when the leader focused on the essential and cut away the noise. Speak it aloud. I finish one thing fully before moving to the next. The final saboteur is what I call the secret exit, the quiet escape you keep in the back of your mind, the plan for retreat you never speak of but always know is there. If this fails, I can always... Those words weaken every decision, every step. The subconscious hears that door and never commits fully to the path ahead. The cure is the exit audit. Write down every back door you have left open, the some days, the if this doesn't work. Then close them deliberately. Burn them if you must. Speak over the ashes. There is no return. My decision is final. When you remove the escape, your mind ceases to divide itself. It gives everything to the forward motion, and that is where greatness begins. Now, I will give you an affirmation loop to replace each saboteur. Speak these words slowly, with breath and conviction. I begin before I am ready. My progress refines my craft. I compete only with the man I was yesterday. I finish one thing fully before I start another. There is no retreat. My decision is final. Repeat them until the voice of hesitation grows quiet. Repeat them until your body believes what your tongue declares. For these are not phrases to be remembered. They are instructions for mastery. And if ever you find yourself slipping back into the hands of these saboteurs, do not despair. Awareness itself is victory. The moment you see them, they lose power. Return to your cures. Return to your affirmations. Return to motion, for perfection, comparison, busy work, and secret exits have no hold on a man who decides, moves, and finishes what he starts. Then when such a man rises each morning and speaks with authority to his own mind, there is no enemy left within him, only purpose, steady and silent, driving him forward. Now, as we come to the close of our journey together, I ask you not merely to listen, but to stand inwardly. This is the moment of finality, the sealing of every truth you have received. You have heard the laws, you have understood the principles, but now they must be written upon your mind through repetition, through rhythm, through the power of your own voice. Breathe slowly, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Let the body grow still. Feel the breath settle in your chest, steady as a drum beat. With each breath, we will affirm the laws you now live by. Speak them with me, not as a student repeating lessons, but as a commander issuing orders to his own destiny. Say this: I was not born to hesitate. Now again, stronger. I was not born to hesitate. I was born to win. Breathe. Feel those words anchor themselves. Say this next: doubt is not mine. I return it. Once more, slower this time, so your subconscious hears each syllable. Doubt is not mine. I return it. Good. Now with authority, my decision is final. Say it again, with no tremor in the voice. My decision is final. You can feel it, can't you? The quiet power that comes when a man no longer negotiates with fear. Now speak this. I act before I feel ready. I act before I feel ready, because I decide. You see, readiness is a mirage. It appears only after motion begins. Continue. I build in silence. I finish what I start. Say it again, as if chiseling it into the very air. I build in silence. I finish what I start. Breathe. Let each word strike like a hammer upon the forge of your mind. Now repeat. Resistance sharpens me. I rise through it. Again, firmer. Resistance sharpens me. I rise through it. You are not pushed down by struggle. You are shaped by it. Say this next. I move first, and the world adjusts. I move first, and the world adjusts. The world always bends to decisive movement. Now speak to your own mind. As master to servant, I speak power, and my mind obeys. Once more, slow and certain. I speak power and my mind obeys. Now let us tie them together. Speak this as a single breath of authority. I decide, I move, I build, I finish. I rise. I speak, and my mind obeys. Feel the rhythm. Feel the pulse of certainty. This is not a recital. This is reprogramming. Now the final vow. Say this softly, but with unbreakable resolve. I do not wait for signs. I create them. I do not wait for courage. I move and courage follows. I do not look for permission. I grant it to myself. I do not live in doubt. I live in decision. Pause. Breathe. Let the stillness settle around you. You have now spoken the oath of finality. The declaration of a man who has burned the bridges behind him, silenced the voice of hesitation, and stepped fully into authorship of his fate. From this moment on, you are not a seeker of power. You are power, directed by decision, strengthened by persistence, guided by faith. Carry this oath with you wherever you go. Whisper it before you sleep. Repeat it upon waking, for the man who keeps these laws alive in his breath will find that the world itself begins to echo them back. And when doubt knocks again, as it will find no door open, no seat left at the table, no ear to listen, because the man you are now does not wait. He decides. He moves. He wins. Now listen closely. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a new rhythm within you, a rhythm of certainty, of movement, of quiet command. You have heard the words, but the words alone are not enough. Power does not come from understanding. It comes from application. So before this hour ends, I ask you to take one step, one action, however small, that aligns with the man you have declared yourself to be. Do not wait for the perfect time, for that illusion has trapped greater men than either of us. Move now, while the fire is still warm. Perhaps it is a letter you must write, a call you must make, a plan you must begin. Perhaps it is simply standing taller, breathing deeper, and walking into the next room with the posture of certainty. Whatever it is, let it be done before this hour turns to memory. You see, the world responds not to wishes but to movement. It listens for footsteps, not words. The moment you move, the unseen gears of opportunity begin to turn. You may not see them yet, but they are already aligning, already shifting, already preparing to meet you halfway. Walk now as if it were already done. Let every step you take carry the energy of inevitability. Do not ask if it will work. Walk as if it already has. Do not wonder if you are worthy. Move as one who has already earned the crown. Every great man I have ever studied, Edison, Ford, Carnegie, Lincoln, they did not wait to feel ready. They acted as if the victory were already written, and the world simply rose to meet their belief. They understood that faith is not merely hope, it is motion, and now it is your turn. You have planted law within your mind, sealed decision into your spirit, and spoken power into the silence. You are no longer a man searching for the path, you are the path. So walk with quiet authority. Walk with unshakable composure. Walk with the calm, knowing that everything that must come will come, not by accident, but by alignment. You were not sent here to surrender. You were sent here to build. And so I leave you with this final command, not as advice, but as truth. Act like you were meant to win, because you were.